Hole and holes! Welcome, one and all, to Conan O'Brien destroying Hollywood. So, let me make this clear. I don't like late night talk show hosts. I hated them for a very long time. Your Jimmy Kimmels and your Jimmy Fallons and every other Jimmy out there that's making this fun. Jimmy Beast, all the Jimmys. All the Jimmys can go right straight down to the depths of hell for all I care. Conan O'Brien is the one late night talk show host guy that I actually like. He is like the only one. And he apparently is getting mega targeted by Hollywood elites because he's not willing to stick to the script. I knew this was happening. I don't know any of the details for a very long time. And I wanted to get into the deep dive on Conan O'Brien's conspiracy. But before we get into the conspiracy side of Conan O'Brien, why exactly and how people have been pushing him out, I really wanted to try and figure out why he's so hated. So this is a video by Moon titled Idiot Late Night Hosts Exposed by Conan O'Brien. Where Conan O'Brien would, through his career, expose lots of fake, fraudulent pieces of shit people in the industry. So when I see people like Conan O'Brien, a real authentic guy, it always makes me so happy. Because in this industry, forget the celebrity business, even in the influencer industry, all these people are fucking fake frauds. See Logan Paul, KSI, and Mr. Beast promote their super healthy new food, Lunchly. Fucking bullshit. It's trash. It's garbage. Stop making believe everything is healthy. You're not saviors to the planet. You're a fucking YouTuber that has money signs for eyes like Mr. Krabs. So let's dive into the late night show host exposed by Conan O'Brien. Let's see what it's all about.
Today it seems like Conan O'Brien is the only talk show host who is loved. Almost every other talk show host seems so soulless.
They're all insufferable. Insufferable, pandering, milquetoast pieces of shit. Just like me. Takes one to know them.
They've sold their soul to Hollywood. But upon looking at the host, a lot of people might not think much of him. But during his time on television, he has quickly become one of the most well-loved hosts in history. So how did he do this? Why does everyone seem to love Conan? And did Conan ever sell his soul to Hollywood? Before anything else,
here's the question. Because again, there's this big conspiracy that I've been kind of liking. So, you know, I love conspiracy theories personally. I love them because I need everything to make sense in my little fucking whacked out head. All right, in my cracked out fucking head, I need things to make sense to me. And to me, there are enough idiosyncrasies in Hollywood that only makes sense if there is some kind of higher power cabal fucking bullshit going on. All right, I know that there's always these shame rituals, the humiliation rituals. Like John Cena said something that pissed people off, and then he goes up on stage naked. You know, like coincidence, right? Like I love that. So chaotic neutral troll here. I like to have fun with the chaos. So let's have some fun. And I don't think Conan O'Brien sold his soul.
In his life, Conan O'Brien was always goofing around, a trait that has often come to be expected from people who grew up under the rigid rulings of Catholicism. As a young boy, he loved comedy and making people laugh, and it was a love he would carry with him even as he grew older. As the years passed, Conan would eventually turn his love of comedy into something lucrative and become one of the most well-loved talk show hosts in history. So how did he go from being just a funny kid to taking over all of the entertainment industry? Well, before interviewing celebrities and putting on wacky skits, O'Brien was entertaining audiences through his writing. Between 1988 and 1993, he was the pen behind several Saturday Night Live skits. He also served as a writer and producer for The Simpsons.
He was a writer for The Simpsons? Oh my god! That's big!
A show about a suburban family with more normal problems and turning into the amazing show people love today.
Yeah, because, you know, The Simpsons fall off needs to be studied.
While the scripts were undeniably funny, no one actually knew who Conan O'Brien was, which made it even more surprising when NBC chose him as the successor to David Letterman on Late Night. When he appeared on the screen for the first time with his sidekick and fellow writer Andy Richter, many people wrote him off, describing him as awkward and uneasy. And if you look at the clips, you can see how nervous he really was.
I mean, I just remember the first time I saw Conan O'Brien, probably, it was when he collabed with PewDiePie. They played like a video game together and they had like the worst handshake of all time.
Which was to be expected.
Like they had like this super fucking, let me show it to you. It's pretty hilarious. Conan O'Brien. Dude, I love this so much.
Star, PewDiePie. Video game mega star, PewDiePie.
Very funny.
Hold the left tree. There you go. Oh! Yes!
Got him. Dude, this is the greatest handshake you will ever see. Get a look at this.
There you go. Oh! Yeah! was awful. We started to, it turned into a high five and it just fell apart. I never want to do that again.
Yeah, anyway, that's a glorious moment. I love that so much. And he played it off so well, too.
From a man who went from a person behind a writer's desk to the face of a show in the span of just a few months. While the show was almost cancelled several times, things got so bad that NBC interns had to fill the seats that the audience members had left empty. But it wouldn't take long for the public's opinion of Conan to soon change. As he developed his humor and delivery, fans and critics noticed that he had great chemistry with his guests and a brilliant way with words. Raised by a professor father and lawyer mother, it only makes sense that he graduated from Harvard University, where he honed his comedic writing skills. And you can clearly see that his intelligence often shines through his comedy in the form of fast wit, well set up jokes, and the way he handles different situations.
I think so. He's definitely really talented, like all in all, and I think that's why people like him. Like ultimately, these people need to be funny. Never mind, scratch that. Jimmy Kimmel is famous.
Whether he's adjusting to better suit the personality and humor of his guests, or dealing with a heavy loss. Unlike what seems to be.
Yeah, James Corden is famous, true. Now you don't have to be funny. Industry plants. He's fucking bought off, paid and sold. Industry plants. I'm just saying. The conspiracy theory hat is on. Is it true? I don't care. It's fun to think about. Because why the frick would they make that bumbling oaf famous? All right? Mindy Kaling, all right? I was in LA, all right? I thought, oh, I'm gonna be in LA. I'll probably bump into some celebrity. The only freaking celebrity adjacent person I actually meet is Mindy Kaling. After I make 30 videos on why Velma is god awful, I bump into the writer of Velma. That is like divine fucking comedy.
Most talk show hosts these days.
Whatever, I'll save that story for another day.
Conan seems to be genuine both on and off stage. This was especially true when he conducted staff performance reviews or hung out with his interns. While he acts like
he also knows his interns. Like, it's good to note that, like, Conan O'Brien actually does know the people he works with by name. And then you have these fucking frauds, these pieces of shit that don't even know the people that have been operating their lights for 20 years. And he knows everyone he works with. Like, he's a real human. And ultimately, that shines through. That shines through to an audience. I think people know when people are fake, right? Like, that's why people, like, they'll see KSI coping. People know that KSI is fake right now.
Bad boss, throwing stuff around the office, yelling at people and asking slightly inappropriate questions. Almost everyone he interacts with either looks like they're desperately trying to hold it together, or they're just openly laughing. This is in stark contrast to someone like James Corden, who couldn't even name 2 of the cameramen on his show.
There it is. That's exactly what I'm fucking talking about. These cameramen were on his show for years and he did not know who they were. Nux, do you know who your editors are? Of course I know who my editors are. They're my friends. I'm not saying you have to be friends with your employees or whatever, all right? I'm not saying that, all right? All right, Stevie, I'm sorry, Stevie. You're not getting fucking Christmas presents, all right? I'm sorry. It's not happening. But of course I know who they are. I talk to them about personal shit. Like, you gotta be a how much of a narcissist do you need to be?
During a Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts segment with Jimmy Kimmel.
Name 2 of the cameramen in this room.
So the funny thing is, these cards were written by their employees. They threw this in as a curveball.
It's a different crew tonight, actually.
Different crew tonight. Yeah, all right, dude.
The host tried to play off
what a fucking degenerate.
His lack of knowledge, as the show had a different crew that night. But still, it was obvious from everyone's reaction that he wouldn't have known anyone's names anyway. Corden hasn't even tried to pretend to be a good boss. During the writer's strike in 2019, Corden took the internet by storm when it was revealed that he had gone to a WGA meeting without any of his writers, and tried to advocate for a program that would allow his show to pay writers less than the guild had set as a minimum. While Corden tried to claim that he just wanted to give young writers better opportunities,
no get out of here. Oh my god, that is some bullshit.
One was buying it.
Yeah,
Some
right.
even pointed out that he had one of the most successful talk shows around, and yet was still trying to take advantage of young writing interns desperate for an opportunity, and willing to accept any offer they were made. Conan O'Brien at least seems to value his staff and their conduct, something he's proved many times over the years. He makes a point of getting to know his employees, and has even congratulated those who have gone on to make names for themselves. Take John Krasinski, for example.
So based. I mean, listen, the reason why, like, I feel so much for, like, these people, like, I've been in these shoes, okay? And I've seen how people treat their employees, just even in the YouTube space, okay? Like, for example, I love all the people that, well, I love all my editors over the years, and a lot of them have made careers and have stopped editing for me, and of course I still support them, right? A lot of people, like Spilling the Milk, the YouTube channel, the three of them, Jack, Cora, and Eden, like the three of them were all my editors, and I've loved them. I've gone on their channel when they just started things up a couple of times. You know, I try my best here. I love these guys. Like, they're my friends, you know? Evanito, he shows up in tons of my... Well, he used to show up in tons of my videos when I made, like, collabs and game shows and stuff before my main channel got shadow banned and I converted my content into Slop Factory and just, like, passion projects. But, like, when you look at all that stuff, like, that's a real thing. Like, you are friends with these people and you support these people, or at least you should, right?
During an interview with Larry King, John mentioned that he used to work as a script intern for Conan O'Brien during his junior year of college.
I was an intern for...
I had no idea he was a worker for Conan O'Brien. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim!
Conan O'Brien my junior year of college. For a summer, and I was his script intern.
The actor cited O'Brien as his inspiration when it comes to comedy, and spoke about how he appeared beside his former employer to discuss The Office in 2005.
People have asked me before, what's your...
So when we're talking about Conan O'Brien exposing other talk show hosts, is it just by osmosis? Because Conan O'Brien just ends up being an authentic, good, funny person that shines through and paints everyone else as like a fucking tool?
What's your biggest influence comedically? And I said, without a doubt, it's Conan O'Brien. One of the most surreal moments of my entire life has been the first night I went on that show. I get to the blue curtain back on the 12:30 slot in MEC, and they pulled the curtain, and I blacked out. That is not an exaggeration. I totally blacked out, don't remember anything until Conan was shaking my hand and pushed me into the couch and said everything's gonna be fine.
The two bounced easily off of each other, rehashing memories and exchanging jabs. However, as the interview came to a close, Conan took a moment to let John know that he was proud of him and what he'd managed to achieve.
And then at the end, if you go back and watch the interview, you can see that I actually end up tearing up because at the end, he takes a moment in the segment to say how proud he is of me, and I'll never forget it.
That is so fucking real and human. Ultimately, humans are gonna take it. Humans are gonna win. People are gonna attach more to like real people. Right? But the thing is, in this industry, with people just revering these fake people, it's so difficult. Like, look at P. Diddy, okay? I just did a whole P. Diddy Diddler deep dive the other day, like diving into all of his crimes and shit. And like people looked up to this man a year ago, okay? 1 year ago, people loved this dude, wanted to be him, wanted to fucking get trafficked by him into his parties, okay? A year ago. Now look at this. Now look at him, right? He's a monster in prison. Like it's insane to think about. Like the facade and when the mask actually slips off. It's so nice to see genuine, real people.
Conan also makes a point of ensuring that his staff is looked after, and has often paid their salaries out of pocket during writer strikes. However, he also expects his staff and crew to maintain a certain amount of respect and politeness, and doesn't take kindly to anyone who doesn't have patience for others, especially waiting staff, something James Corden doesn't even expect of himself. In 2022, the owner of a popular restaurant named Baltazar took to Instagram to tell the world about his employees' experience with Corden. He described him as a tiny cretin of a man, before explaining how on 2 separate occasions, Corden had shouted at his servers, demanding free drinks by the threat of a nasty review on Yelp after discovering a hair in his food the first time, and absolutely exploded the second because his wife egg yolk omelette accidentally had a bit of egg white mixed in, and after the dish had been made, the server brought it out with fries instead of salad. According to the restaurant owner...
Can I give you an incredibly hot take? It's not that hot of a take. This was actually advice that my dad gave me, alright? Dating advice from Nuxanor's dad, alright? He said that pay attention to how your date treats your waiter, because that is how she will treat you when she feels like you're locked in. Like, that's advice that my dad gave me, and can I say bro was cooking. Bro was cooking. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But dude, what a cretin. He's a public persona. How does he feel like he could get away with this? It's like, what kind of a narcissist are you, bro? To think that this guy isn't just gonna go to social media and complain about you.
Corden started yelling at the server about how they couldn't do their job, and how he would have to go into the kitchen and cook the omelette himself, apparently forgetting the fact that servers don't prepare the food. The owner then finished...
Wait, he yelled at the waiter that the food wasn't cooked well? What a fucking loser.
by asserting that in the 25 years his restaurant had been open, they'd never had to serve such an abusive customer before proceeding to ban him. While the ban was temporarily lifted after Conan called the owner to apologize, the owner, mind you, not the servers he screamed at, that didn't last long. After an interview with the New York Times in which he insisted that he hadn't done anything wrong and that the issue was beneath him, the owner had enough. He couldn't believe that Conan had denied being abusive to his servers, who had nothing to gain out of lying about his treatment of them. He officially banned Conan from ever stepping foot in his restaurant unless he apologized to the two servers he insulted. While this was going on and Conan was making a very poor attempt at damage control by not taking any real responsibility for what had happened, one of Conan O'Brien's writers took the opportunity to let people know by announcing to the public that when the host witnessed a member of his staff being rude to a server at a restaurant, Conan fired them. Not only was it a
Wow! He fired one of his writers for being mean in a restaurant to someone else. Like, it wasn't even in being unprofessional in the workplace. He's just like, these are not the people that I am associating myself with. Incredibly based. Like a lot of people were saying that, oh, why are you hating on people? I was the first on the Mr. Beast hate train for his collabs with Logan Paul. I will remind all of you, every single one of you, that I, Lord Nuxanor, pre-watcher of reality, have been saying all along that Mr. Beast is going to do this big collab with Logan Paul where they're going to combine Prime and Feastables. And I was right. I've been calling this literally for a year now because of how Logan Paul constantly treats him and props him up in his videos. He puts him in videos he doesn't belong. He rigs competitions to work out for Logan Paul. I've been saying this for an incredibly long time, and I was right. But ultimately, I called him out on this because Logan Paul is evil, okay? He is suing a friend of mine, CoffeeZilla, for no reason. He has scammed people, allegedly. I don't want to get sued here, all right? Dude's a monster. So if you're gonna keep propping him up and putting him on a pedestal, then there is something wrong with you. I don't believe in canceling by association, but it definitely does say something about your character.
Perfect jab, but it was a great indicator of just how different the two hosts were. One is a performative, charming, funny guy with a deep repressed mean streak inside of him.
Charming, funny guy. Charming, funny guy, my asshole. Nikocado Avocado is a funny guy compared to this fucking clown.
And the other is a genuinely kind person who likes to make people laugh. Based on everything, there's no denying that Conan cares about his staff. He treats them almost like his family and can joke and laugh with everyone, from the producers who handle his show to his interns. Understandably, he'd want to continue working with them for as long as possible. Taking all of this into consideration, it then makes sense why NBC started causing problems for Conan. And he would not only do everything in his power to make sure his staff were looked after, but also do his best to try and take them with him wherever he went, which was proved again in 2010. You see, we can't talk about Conan O'Brien without discussing what happened with NBC and Jay Leno, especially after the way their last business interaction went down.
Ooh, is this where he gets punished? Because I heard there was like this whole theory about how he gets punished by Hollywood.
After working on late night for 16 years, the longest time a host has ever served in the history of the talk show, Conan succeeded Jay Leno and took over as host of The Tonight Show in 2009, having been promised 5 years earlier that he would get the position. It's always been one of his dreams, which is a part of the reason he stuck with the network for so long, even though it would have been easy to secure a talk show elsewhere. For 7 months, he entertained a new audience with insightful and often hilarious interviews and wacky skits. People didn't know that behind the scenes, Conan and his crew were receiving very little support from NBC, who couldn't handle the fact that their numbers were dropping after the change and were scrapped.
Ultimately, they lost numbers, right? Numbers are what matters at the end of the day for the television networks, right? Like, you know, Matt Pat, for example, he retires, he gives his channel to new people. Like, ultimately, even though these new people might be just as good, or maybe even better than Matt Pat in this format, the Matt Pat fans that watched for Matt Pat are gonna leave. And, the Matt Pat channels, all the game theory channels, have definitely taken a dip in viewership ever since then. Hopefully they'll, you know, pick back up. But ultimately, the people that watched the previous host did leave. But the network is so fucking blind and stupid that they somehow blame Conan for this when it is completely out of his hands. That's disgusting.
Scrambling to try and find a way to make things work. Unfortunately for Conan, NBC was not happy with his or Leno's numbers, or the fact that Conan had refused to tone down his behavior for a more mainstream audience. And
you see that? They wanted him to tone down his behavior for a mainstream audience. They wanted him to become a Mr. Beast. They wanted him to become a generic announcer white guy, right? Generic, 10 million pedophiles are fighting 10 million children for $10 million. Like the generic ass, no personality. His wacky and zany skits are going to be really funny to some people, but some people just aren't going to be into that kind of comedy.
Decided to move the older host show from its primetime slot to the Tonight Shows, which in turn would be pushed back half an hour into the early morning hours of the next day. Conan was understandably
That's brutal.
disappointed by this change, not just because NBC was cheating him out of a slot after years of stringing him along just to keep him out of other networks' hands, but because he believed it would damage what he considered to be the greatest franchise in the history of broadcasting. After a bit of negotiation with the network,
Believed in himself.
Conan announced that he would leave The Tonight Show in January of that year. Not 3 months after he left, Jay Leno was back in his spot as the host of the show, and NBC was happy that their ratings had returned to the original state. While the situation sucked, Conan didn't leave NBC empty-handed, and neither did his crew. During his discussion with the network, he managed to negotiate a $45 million deal and ensure that $12 million of what he had promised was distributed amongst his staff. And it didn't stop there.
What a fucking legend. It was ever since he started that he was supporting his staff.
While he couldn't work with another network until September, he wasn't going to let NBC stop him from making people laugh. So he took his entire crew, everyone who'd been with him since late nights, and went on a comedy tour that coincided with his announcement that he would be starting a new talk show with TBS, who have allowed him to do pretty much anything he wants without much complaint. The whole issue with NBC and The Tonight Show opened people's eyes to the type of man Jay Leno was, especially when Conan was finally allowed to appear on TV 4 months after he departed from NBC and did an interview with 60 Minutes. Now, commendably, Conan didn't wish the network or Jay Leno any ill will. However, he did voice his disappointment with the network for not giving him much of a chance to settle in as the host of The Tonight Show. When asked if Jay Leno acted honorably during the whole debacle, Conan explained that if he were in Leno's situation and had already moved on from a show and wished his successor well, he would have tried something new. Instead, Jay Leno did the safe thing for himself and returned, which many Conan fans didn't appreciate. Losing your dream job is a terrible experience, but rather than dwelling on what could have
Legend. Can you imagine fighting your whole life for this job, being promised 5 years earlier you're gonna get this job, you eventually do get this job. It's like an awesome moment in your life, but because you are not exactly the token character that they want you to be, they fire you, they push you out, they give you worse hours, they eventually completely edge you out of this. And you don't let that break you. You fucking make something of yourself anyway. That's inspiring.
have been and allowing it to become a death sentence to his career, Conan turned it into an opportunity for
that hairline though.
Growth. Happy with the money he was bringing in with his new talk show and trusting in his ability to entertain people, TBS gave the comedian the green light on his very own travel show, Conan O'Brien Must Go. While O'Brien was doing a fantastic job of showcasing the world as he could, he was also demonstrating exactly why people loved him so much. All Conan needed was his goofy, chaotic self. Not only were his fans in stitches, but so were people who were utterly clueless about who he was. This would be a near impossible feat for hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen DeGeneres, heavily on their audience's knowledge of themselves, pop culture, and current politics to get a laugh. You see, around 2016, as the internet was becoming rife with memes and poisoned by the culture war of the presidential election, celebrities often found themselves repeating the message of their corporate sponsors to make sure they seemed trendy and saying the right things at the right times.
100%. I remember 2016 when every single talk show host in the world just moved to making fun of Trump. Every single person's content became Trump jokes, straight up, except for Conan O'Brien. And in the beginning, when people started doing the Trump joke thing, their numbers went up, and eventually their numbers dipped.
On Tuesday, November 8th, this country will make one of the most important
decisions in its history.
I hate the idea that society listens to these people, because these people are idiots. They're idiots. They're flesh puppets put on your screen by their masters over at Hollywood. They don't have agency. They don't have brains. They're good at acting. Dude, what's his face? Robert Downey Jr. is an amazing actor. An inspiringly good actor. But you're gonna listen to him about political opinions? What the hell is this guy? Why does he have the right to an opinion that's important?
As a result, we started to see talk show hosts like Kimmel dedicating huge segments of their shows to these issues, particularly during the 2016 election. They would often spread fake political messages to pander to the loudest voices just to avoid being cancelled themselves. Unfortunately for these hosts, all these attempts at virtue signaling usually backfired as they felt forced and made them appear so inauthentic. Everybody hated it. These preachy Hollywood elites telling the public what they should believe in and laughing at those who didn't believe in what they say. But obviously most people didn't want to talk show host, some millionaire famous person, to preach at them about
Thank you, true. But the thing is, what's so funny is like these things do get numbers. These things do get numbers. And that's what people see. People see a big number trending, all right? You make fun of a famous guy and you get numbers for making fun of a famous guy. Like it's classic. It works in the beginning, but it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. See, I make fun of famous people because I like it. And I don't know. I feel like it's a healthy way to do it. It's a healthy way to do it. I am the healthiest form of chaos content.
About something they know very little about, but that didn't stop Kimmel. The host completely destroyed his reputation in this period.
Yes, sir.
The host wouldn't get—
He literally dug his talons into the ground and spewed general political talking points and fucking cooked himself.
Far into his monologues without throwing some rant about politics in the middle.
I wasn't president. I was like a guy, right? A guy with potential. Right? With potential.
A guy with potential to ruin everything that is good in the world.
Ellen isn't any better either. In all the years she hosted Ellen's show, she always preached about being kind to people, even if they didn't share your beliefs. However, she never seemed to expect that from herself. Not only did she dedicate an entire monologue to doing everything she could to bash Trump, which in turn completely polarized her audience, but she also banned multiple celebrities from actually appearing on her show because they didn't share her views. And I mean, you can't really expect much better from a woman who uses her guest discomfort and embarrassment to entertain herself and her audience. No one—
Yeah, we have to do the Ellen DeGeneres deep dive. I got it. I've seen some crazy shit that she's done, but we got to do the deep dive.
She became one of the most hated talk show hosts in history. And while watching Ellen prank one of her guests may be funny to some people, especially if they seem to be enjoying it themselves, there have been a few instances where the celebrity being pranked looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, most notably Taylor Swift and Channing Tatum. The two appeared on the talk show separately several times over the years, and in one or two interviews seemed to regret their choices. Tatum's regret appeared when Ellen forced him to face his fear of porcelain dolls by literally climbing on top of him to put one directly in his face.
Like, this is an actual fear that he has, and she would just do this? Like, this is evil.
Imagine if the genders were reversed. I mean, not only did he—
True, gender equality. Dude, if he would climb on her with a porcelain doll, he would end up in prison.
He looked incredibly uncomfortable, but people were very quick to point out just how invasive and inappropriate the host was during this interaction. While Ellen has never climbed onto Taylor Swift's lap, she does go out of her way to terrify her and even once bullied the singer to the point of tears when Ellen refused to stop talking about her dating life.
She bullied her to tears on live television? How the fuck did she have an audience? She just had a whole Netflix special, right? Oh my god.
Most of the time, the only person who seems to be laughing at her jokes is Ellen herself. And this is the funny, charming presenter version of Ellen. Behind the scenes, she's been reported to be a monster. And while Kimmel might not be as bad as DeGeneres, he does have his moments. I mean, let's not forget that he's become famous for tasking parents with recording their children after telling them they ate all of their Halloween candy, or
what?
Gifting them a present they wouldn't like for Christmas. While some of the kids—
Bro is actually the Grinch? Ain't no way dude was like, oh, I know how to become marketable and likable to a large audience. I'll cosplay the Grinch.
Responses are entertaining, most cry or throw a tantrum. But not only do you end up feeling incredibly sorry for the kids, but they're just being exploited and publicly shamed by millions in the audience.
Literally. Like, they're actually just embarrassing, torturing, and humiliating children for fun. That's crazy! Oh my god! And these people are the ones with the platform that are constantly being pushed by the regular mainstream. It's like, and who's gonna listen to these people's political opinions?
Having to deal with their parents using them on social media for the sake of clout just to get a few laughs. Whereas Conan seems to have a very different approach. Now, of course, he does have his strong political opinions, but he doesn't go on about them. He doesn't preach to his audience. He knows most people are split 50-50 between conservative and liberal. And so instead of preaching about his politics, he just chooses to put on fun shows that actually make people laugh. It's a refreshing approach, and it seems to be the only approach that will ever work.
I agree completely.
This is why the comedian has become so much more popular recently, especially in America, where politics has become so suffocating. Even when he's making what could be considered a political comment, he's never trying to score brownie points with anyone or saying what his puppet masters want him to say.
Hey.
Take how he confronted Hollywood's issue of encouraging over-sexualization while also discouraging predatory behavior when Nicole Scherzinger appeared on his show in 2011. The singer was wearing a very form-fitting dress that made her, in her own words, feel like a sausage. A little way into the interview, she reminded O'Brien to look at her face. face, not her chest.
Me to be a guest judge. Focus, Conan. To be, they asked me.
Hilarious.
I'm speaking of serious talk. He asked me
That
to
is
be
kind of hard. It's so, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Based! So based! She is literally, it's the equivalent of people with like really fine print on their shirt and you squint to read the fucking print on the shirt and they think that you're staring down. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. If you're gonna dress like a hoe, then we're gonna, okay, alright, that's extreme.
I'm sorry. Finally, let's be real here for a second.
Speaking of...
You didn't think I was gonna look down there?
Yeah, why'd you put that on? God, he's so based. Holy crap. I didn't know he was this based.
I think...
The talk show host took...
Oh my God, he's so fucking awesome. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, did you look at my butt? Lady, you are not wearing pants. You know, like, God damn.
The moment in his stride. And he's also not afraid to call out guests when they give him a hard time. Like when he proved Jennifer Garner wrong after she tried to claim that snuck wasn't a word. But being a Harvard graduate, he knew this was wrong. But he didn't want to embarrass her too much. Quite the opposite, actually.
There's a... Oh, I'm sorry, wait, there's a... I keep a dictionary down here and I just found it. Just want to look at... Oh, what the hell? Look right here. Snuck, past and past part of sneak.
Damn.
And in his interview with Rooney Mara in 2013, this was an excellent example of this. Mara is a brilliant but incredibly shy actress who was visibly nervous throughout her interview. But Conan expertly brings her out of her shell by going out of his way to relate to her. He starts their interview by explaining that he also doesn't enjoy being sung to on his birthday. While her nerves were still there, the two developed a good back and forth, and the interview went well.
You hate it when people sing happy birthday to you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I actually relate to that. I don't love... I don't love it either. I don't love it either. I don't like praise for something that I didn't have anything to do with.
What an amazing way to transform that conversation into a relatable talking point. That's insane. He just completely flipped that entire topic on his head. Because I completely agree. Don't give me praise for shit that I didn't do. Right? Stuff that just fell on my lap.
Which is only further proof of how genuine Conan seems.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you're hanging out, hot girl, and she's like, oh, what a lovely circumcision. And I'm like, damn it, bitch, that wasn't me! Terrible example, but you get my idea.
Seems to be on the stage. Even when he's being over the top and making himself the butt of a joke, the comfort of his guests and the entertainment of his audience always comes first. Furthermore,
Ellen DeGeneres would have started singing Happy Birthday. She would have said, I'm uncomfortable when people sing Happy Birthday at me, and Ellen DeGeneres would have, Happy Birthday to you!
Conan's success, despite the lack of political commentary in any of the content he produces, demonstrates that there's much more to a talk show than overused jokes about political figures and
so real. He actually loves what he produces. He actually makes art. These people are fartists. That guy, he's an artist.
Games that people have seen more times than they can count. Unfortunately, hosts like Jimmy Fallon have yet to learn this, and his show has suffered because of it. Jimmy Fallon has always been one of the better-loved talk show hosts. His laughter was infectious, and he seemed to get along with everyone. He was the most charming guy around. He had untold millions of followers on Instagram and Twitter.
Untold millions of followers. Actually, it is very much told exactly how many millions. This isn't Warhammer 40k with untold millions of soldiers.
And it often felt like celebrities enjoyed a show more than anyone else's because they were guaranteed to have fun with Fallon. He was the upcoming star, and he didn't seem so evil like Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen DeGeneres. However, it didn't
The upside of Jimmy Fallon, he doesn't seem so evil.
take long for this happy facade to start to crumble and for the truth to unravel. It began with the show losing all of its charm as the network pushed him to meet higher numbers and focus on trends. Things
Charlie D'Amelio.
he never really cared about when he first started. Games went from unique, wacky creations that you could only expect from a celebrity game show to repeats from episodes that had been the most successful.
Wow, look at that. That's awesome. Box of Lies with everyone on the planet. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, he caved to the pressure of the Hollywood people pushing him into doing generic shit, and he just completely caved to the pressure. Conan O'Brien is not willing because he is making art. That's the difference.
And with the pressure from the networks mounting on him, his alcohol abuse started to rise.
What?
People at his work started to claim that he always smelled like booze. His laughter was now feeling so forced.
Again, KSI all over.
You can't say. You can't say. Yeah.
He just clapped 4 times, slapped the table 4 times, and
his jokes went
call him Ellen disingenuous.
From entertaining to lame rehashes of the same jokes his competition had delivered that week. It was all completely inauthentic and fake, and almost unbearable to watch. And as this continued, more and more people...
The way he can instantly go to a straight face after he's done with his performance. Jimmy should use his fake laugh to hint that the joke isn't funny. He does laugh like he has a sniper on him. Holy shit.
People started to point out flaws in the show they'd once enjoyed. The most glaring of which was how
he says the words ha 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 when laughing. Wait, what? I have to see that. I have to see him laughing again.
You
Oh my God, he actually says the words ha 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 when laughing. Oh my God. Oh my God! He actually uses the words ha ha ha! That's some One Piece shit.
Continued, more and more people started to point out flaws in the show they'd once enjoyed. The most glaring of which was how uninteresting some of Fallon's questions were. As people's love for the show and its host dwindled, they went from laughing along with him to mocking his fake laughter.
Jimmy Fallon fake laughing obnoxiously through an entire interview with Ryan Gosling. 2 million views.
And even questioning all of his authenticity and his intelligence. Whereas with Conan, this never...
Wait, dude,
and even questioning all of his authenticity and his
I fucking love
intelligence.
The comments. I love the comments sometimes. Yeah, so my mom passed away the other day. Ah! Wait, what?
Whereas with Conan, this never seemed to happen. People never really questioned his authenticity in the same way. And while his humor is absurd, there's still a level of intelligence that leaves people eager to hear the punchline.
It's also personalized. Like, it's humor that only he does because he is actually creating art instead of these other people that are creating fart. I think it makes sense.
People know that Conan is really smart. He's clearly someone who went to Harvard. Fallon, on the other hand, struggles with creating anything new or unique, often leading to more bland and stale jokes that people don't really find funny, or with a really fake, socially inept laugh. Either this, or he'll miss a setup that's so bad, he almost ruins a guest joke. Such as the time when Louis C.K. was telling Fallon how much he loved naps. The host chimed in with better than sleep, completely baffling the comedian, who then
I love naps better than sleep? Wait, what the No way.
spent a large portion of the beginning of the interview explaining to Fallon that naps are indeed sleep, before moving on to the bit he'd been trying to set up before.
You like it better than sleep?
Better.
What the Oh my God, he just killed him. You can just murder a comedian by giving them a bad punchline. Oh my God.
Sleep is like the ultimate nap.
But you just said that.
Conan, on the other hand, seems to actually bounce off of his comedian interviewees and allows them to do their thing, even adding to the bit. Plus, unlike Fallon, each of his attempts at humor feel actually genuine, even when they do fall flat. He also lets his guests dominate the conversation and control where the interview is going. For example, the first time Steve Carell appeared on Conan, the actor spent his segment scoping out the area to decide whether he'd want to promote a future project there. It was something fresh, and while there were definitely scripted moments, Carell was the one steering the entire bit. Unfortunately though, some hosts feel more interested in getting through every question and listening to their own voice rather than letting the guest talk, all whilst plugging virtue signaling talking points that the networks and big executives want them to espouse to the public. Something Conan actually experienced firsthand when interviewed by Stephen Colbert in 2017. After greeting Colbert's audience and talking about David Letterman for a bit, Conan O'Brien took the opportunity to speak about a gift he'd received from Letterman shortly after sending the older host a letter of appreciation.
The truck is unloaded. 2 cowboys in full chaps, cowboy hats, holding the biggest, most beautiful horse.
As
they were strippers for sure.
Relayed the details of what happened with the horse, Colbert subtly hurried him along to the end of his story and refused to let him get sidetracked.
Wait, what?
Once the story was finished, he remarks that he feels like he's on vacation and jokes that his crew cut off the cameras halfway through.
I asked you one question, and we're how many is? We're 9 minutes into your answer.
Conan easily.
Oh my God, that is insufferable. He is doing you a favor by coming on your show.
Plays off the backhanded comment, acting insulted with Colbert and refusing to answer his next question before eventually allowing him to continue with the interview. This isn't the only time Colbert has given a guest a hard time. Bill Burr would appear on the show in the same year. He would try to tell his story about how he wasn't able to joke about a lesbian because people had gotten sensitive. However, Colbert...
Don't worry, Ellen DeGeneres set lesbians back 4 decades. You can make fun of lesbians now.
One of the most fake virtue signaling people out there, seemed to care much more about his executive's opinion of this than his own authentic views, and tried to actually argue their case.
What?
I was doing a joke. I saw this lesbian walk into a restaurant, and me, like, oh my God. It's like, it was undeniable.
That it was a lesbian?
Yeah, she was dressed like John Goodman on Roseanne, you know? That style, and I was just, it was funny to me. She was dressed like a construction worker. Funny,
Maybe she was a construction worker.
Brother, what is this conversation? He's making a joke.
She wasn't.
Effectively proving the comedian's point and making Colbert just seem so inauthentic and...
Bro, Colbert, dude, you can almost see that he's sitting so straight because the stick up his ass is giving him scoliosis.
gross. This is a far cry from Conan, who seemed to lean into Burr's humor. Whenever he appears on the show, he helps the comedian's jokes land with the audience, even if they don't appreciate his sense of humor. Colbert just takes himself far too seriously, and it's really, really cringy. And you see, before he hosted The Late Show, he seemed to actually be funny, and played a self-obsessed character who made his guests wait for him and basked in the applause from his audience. He was entertaining because it was different, and his interruptions felt less like his need to insert himself into the conversation and more like they were a part of the show as a whole.
And folks, internet equality is more important than ever, as I learned this weekend. When the interwebs...
Oh my God, he says it's so serious. Internet equality.
...tried to swallow me whole. But I am proud to say that I got lodged in its throat and it hacked me back up like a hastily chewed chicken wing.
These days, though...
Yikes.
Colbert
And
is
he has writers for that shit?
far too self-important for his own good. He literally had a motif that included his face painted onto the domed roof of his studio.
Bro got Leonardo da Vinci to freaking do this? Oh my God! Not just a face, he has 40 of himself up there. Oh my God!
Making it look
What
like
a
a cathedral
narcissist.
dedicated to himself. And it's almost not a joke at this point. It's hard to tell if he's just this egotistical and narcissistic, or if it's even a parody anymore. And while he could have played into it for comedy, Colbert just lets it serve as decoration, making this whole setup feel so strange and
my
egotistical. Almost like he's worshipping himself and his opinions and expecting others to do the same.
Yeah, almost like he is worshipping himself. True, good point.
Conan is obviously the complete opposite of this. His self-depreciating sense of humor, lack of self-importance, and willingness to adjust his format to better suit his audience makes him so much more enjoyable to watch and authentic. Over the years, he's even openly poked fun at the usual setup of talk shows and how glamorized they've become. Whereas other hosts bask in their own glory and will even talk over guests to prevent dead air, or they'll go on to sanitize politically incorrect jokes, or just love the sound of their own voice.
Imagine getting an edgy comedian on, like Bill Burr, right? He's an edgy comedian. He's obviously gonna make edgy jokes. Imagine getting an edgy comedian onto your fucking show, and then just completely waggling your finger at him and saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to joke about these things."
Seems like Conan is the only person who's escaped Hollywood in this sense, the only person who remained authentic and actually likable.
Well, at least in the comedian, talk show host world. Wow, that's crazy. Honestly, I do feel like Conan kind of exposed the industry. Because this is what happens when someone actually has morals, someone actually has a personality, someone that actually does love what he creates, and he's someone that's not willing to take the shit from the staff that just wants him to become a token character to push whatever fucking shit they want to be pushed. It is pretty awesome. Yeah, this was a good video, and I do want to see, I know that there's like this whole conspiracy about how Hollywood's pushing him out, so we are going to be diving into that in the future for 10,000 likes. Also, let me know about the Ellen DeGenerate deep dive. I do want to do that as well. Thank you all so much for being here. I do appreciate you guys immensely. Subscribe for more chaos. It's what we do. We spread that chaos throughout the land, all right? People need to start breathing chaos. I'm just saying. There is no right and wrong. There is only chaos. Subscribe. Bye. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.